Okay, good morning and welcome to Iyun Benzion. Today we'll be dealing with a fundamental question of the Rishonim of Tosos over here on Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis. The Gemara today talks about Ha'ara, Tchilas Bia, beginning of Bia. The Gemara's Machlokas between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan. Shmuel says that Ha'ara is Nashika. Nashika is just a kiss, basically kissing the lips of the penis, kiss the lips of the vagina. It basically doesn't have to actually enter the penis, and just touching on the outside. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, he has to actually machnis the atar. He has to bring in the tip of the penis, has to go into the vagina, has to penetrate a little bit. So, whatever it is, that's called ha'ara. Now, the Gemara on Nehemiah Beis says towards the top, Isha labai laminal. And how do you know Isha to her husband? How do you know ha'ara is good enough? Whatever ha'ara is, we're going to find out. We find later on in the daf. Right? How do you know that's good enough to do something with an isha? So what is that something? So Rashi says mikadesh babiyah. He learns, right? One of the ways in Sekhas Kedushin, you could betroth, you can mikadesh a woman, you can engage to a woman, as you do biyah. So how do you know tchilas biyah is good enough? So the Gemara says asi kicha kicha. The Gemara here says kicha. We have exersha kicha 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 isha. Talking about engaged to a woman or maybe married to a woman. And it says kicha by arayos. So arayos, we learned yesterday that ha'ara suffices. So therefore also, when it comes to mekadesh a woman, ha'ara suffices. Now the problem with this is Tosfos notes here in Kedusha and Daf Yud. No, read Tosfos. The usual ba'ala minayin iksta kicha kicha appears to nickness ba'ara hiksha harabin and this in parakam Kedusha boy. Ram Kedusha has a question about kinyan of Kedusha. Chilas biakona, sof biakona. It's asking whether the beginning of Bia's Kona, Sof Bia Kona, the Mai Nafkamina. And the Gemara gives Nafkaminas. If he did a Ara and then with one woman, and then he was Makad, and then he pulled out, and then Kiddushin was another woman, right? You can't be Makadish. And then he took Kiddushin from another lady, right? Was he Mikudeshes to the first one? Masik Rava, the Cholabol Daital Gmar Bia. The Gemara is Maskana. It's a clear Maskana there. Everyone who has Bia, his Das is on Gmar Bia. Below Kani Bara. He's not Kani with Ara. The Gemara doesn't say below Kani Bara, but it's just making clear that that's what it means over there. He's not Kani with Tchilas Bia. He's calling the Gmar Bia. So how does the Gemara here always say? It was on a Kedushin. So like Rashi says, it's a stira from the Gemara here in Yevamos and the Gemara in Kedushin. So one of the answers in Tos Tir is Rabbeinu Shimon Zakin the Hada Amar Yachad the Kani Bara Hainu B'Shalo Asaki Ma'ara Pirish Miyad Below Gmar Biasa V'Hasam Ayrik She'Oza Kol Bia. Well, the simple explanation Tosas gives over here. He says we're talking about where if he only did ha'ara, right? So, like what we're talking about over here, that's good enough. That's what the Gemara says. The Gemara is talking about something else, that he plans on doing an entire bia. He targets starting the bia and finishing the bia. So when he's doing that, and it's called boel daito al gmar bia, he's doing a complete Maisa Bia. So therefore his Das is on the finishing, so that's when it's Kona over there, and has Nafkaminos over there, that he for example, Kohen Gadol, right, if Tchilas Bia is Kona, so therefore he's Kona with Kedushin, and when he tries to marry her, with Nisuin, the end of the Bia is the Nisuin, so then he's already doing Nisuin to a Ba'ula. He can't be married, he has to marry a virgin, and he's not marrying a virgin. So the fact that the Gemara is still called Bol Daital Gmar Bia, that the Gmar Bia is what's going on, it makes the Kiddushin. So therefore, when he does the Kiddushin, he's doing it to a virgin, and it's okay. So the Gemara there is talking about when he completes the Bia, he does the entire Bia. Here we're talking about he only does Har and he pulls out. Now, both Tosas and Rashi learn that the Gemara here is talking about Kiddushin, but I would like to suggest that it doesn't say that Isha Labaila, right? Isha Labaila is to her husband, right? Kiddushin doesn't make you a husband necessarily, it makes you an Aris, it makes you a Makudash. You have a commitment to them to marry them, but it doesn't mean that you're actually married. I would venture to say over here, Isha Labaila means Nisuin over here. Nisuin, the Gemara over there is talking about Kiddushin over there. The Gemara is talking about Kedusha. The Gemara learns that you can mekadesh a woman, bulas baal, or one opinion says, or there's a different opinion, and both opinions learn out that there's a kinyan of Kedusha from the word baal, right? Which is exactly the opposite of what I'm saying over here. Kedushin makes you a husband, or bulas baal. I'd like to say that we learned earlier that Rav says man makadosh b'bia, he was mangid him. He would, according to both opinions, he would give malchus to someone makadosh b'bia. But it's kind of strange that the Torah learns that it's one of the permissible ways or one of the effective ways of being makadosh a lady, and Rav just answered something the Torah talks about and it's expressly matters. That's why I would learn from that Gemara, where the Gemara darshans on Daf Tet in Kedushin that Bulas Baal is a Makor Baal, whatever it is, comes from the word Baal. So yes, you could do Kedushin with Bia. When the Mishnah in Kedushin says you're allowed to do that, Rav wouldn't give Malchus if you did the Bia in a way of a husband, right? If you did the Bia way of a husband, where both are meant to enjoy. As a husband, you want to make sure you pleasure your wife and you enjoy yourself. So you're going to have an orgasm for her in there, and you're going to do a finishing Bia where you're going to mafis the entire penis and let out the zera. Because you want it to be enjoyable for both of you, and being a husband is having a relationship with a woman where not just for one night, but you're keeping a relationship going for a long time. You're acting like a husband to her. Husband cares about his wife, not just about himself. So that's the Gemara is saying in Kedushin that the one, even Rav wouldn't give Malchus if you're Makadosh B'Be'ila. If you're Makadosh B'Be'ila, you wouldn't give Malchus. Makadosh B'Bia, then you give Malchus. Bia is just for the pleasure of the man. He enters and he wants to let out the zera, and he could care less about the woman, really. And that's what we're talking about over here. Here we're talking Isha L'Baila. If you already did normal, you don't do Nisuin right away. You have to do a Kedushin first. So if there's no contract of Yevamos, you have to do a Kedushin. In order to do a Kedushin, you did a Be'ila, let's say, right? So then all you need for the Nisuin is Ha'ara, is Bia over here. Ha'ara is talking about Bia, Haknas Satara. That's all you need for that, for Nisuin. The Gemara in Kedushin was talking, Kol Bo'al Daito Agmar Bia, Agmar Bia is talking about a be'ila, what the recommended way of doing kedushin. When you're recommended doing kedushin, you have to do a be'ila. Like Rav only give malchus if you did a be'ila. A be'ila would be okay. So therefore, he plans on doing it's a whole episode. It's like the seder on Pesach, right? Halal Nirza, right? It's the seder on Pesach. You want to do a whole seder halayla, whatever you're doing in the bedroom with your wife. That would be a kedushin, and there the kedushin is dependent on the end of the bia. Here we're talking about after you did the kedushin and do an isuin to finalize it. So all you have to do is ha'ara, do a bia, and that would be good enough to effectuate isuin over here. And that's what all these isurim in the Torah. Here we're doing isurim in the Torah. Obviously, if you're doing an isur, you're not planning to do this with the wife necessarily. You're not planning on doing it in a way that both will be happy. The man just wants to do an isser, and therefore he's doing a bia, he's doing a hara. So even once he's machnas the Torah, according to Shmuel Neshika, if machnas the Torah, that's already enough to be mechayev him, because that's all he really cares about, right? And right, even if he doesn't necessarily, he just wants to let out the zera, and therefore even if he's machnas the Torah, even if he doesn't let out the zera, but that's all he cares about is being machnas the Torah, and ultimately letting out the zera. He doesn't have to go all the way in and be let out the zera. So that would be, when we're talking about isurim, when we're talking about isuin or yibam over here, then the ha'ara is sufficient. The tchilas bia is sufficient. When it comes to the mitzvah of kedushin, right? If you don't want to do it in a way that's pritzusa, like Rav says, that you're just breaching through a fence, you want to do it the proper way, proper etiquette, then you have to do a be'ila, and be'ila daito agmar bia. Hope you enjoyed today's shiur. See you in Mishnah Yom.